Hi, my name is Cameron Green, and this is my final report. And it's an association between Rotten Tomato reviews and TV movie genre. The topic is associations, and I performed an association between Rotten Tomato reviews and TV genres. Specifically, I chose the genre action adventure drama, and I got the data set from Kaggle, which they extracted it from Rotten Tomatoes. And the reason why I chose this data set is because the software, or it's not sorry, language itself is extremely complex in and of itself, and computers can't yet determine the ambiguity and the complexity of it, so they have to assign it values, and just the syntax and the semantics is just too intricate. Um, so by turning these values, the language and values, it helps better find um, correlations using keywords. And I chose reviews because reviews are a good way to find an associated relationship for reoccurring themes, concepts, features, or genre films. Um, my goals are basically to find any recurring themes, features, aspects in a genre film. Where does an action adventure drama prosper in? Where does it lack? What people might find dramas appealing, or why they might find dramas appealing, and what they might expect it to contain, and any general association that I'll find analyzing the data between the two attributes. As far as cleaning the data, there was a lot of missing variables or missing values, if you will. And at, initially, I used select attribute and then filter examples, replace missing values. But for some reason, there were a bunch of technical difficulties, to put a long story short, and it wouldn't load my data set whenever I kept on doing the process. So I angled around and found an easier way to do it since I'm only doing the two attributes. What I did was I selected the select attribute, and then I used the filter examples and set the condition to no missing attributes, which removed all the missing ones because for these two attributes, it's essential to have them uh, not missing. So I just went ahead and removed them, but it brought it down from 10,000 to 5,000 examples. And then I went in to use the filter examples operator again, and then I specifically selected a specific genre, action adventure drama, and didn't seem to be any duplicates either. And that took out all the missing data and cleaned it right up. As far as the problems, any questions? Some of the problems are the associated rules um, with the words themselves. A few of the words just weren't complete as far as getting better inferences from. Uh, like there were really good inferences I could have gathered from based fact life or impressive performances. Those are fairly easy to infer upon. You can gather, okay, dramas, action adventures might be tend to circle around life in general, fact-based events. But associations like enough and cast are more ambiguous, so you can't ascertain something with full confidence. Questions and answers. Questions that I'm trying to answer based on goals themselves. So the goals that I mentioned earlier are a large part of what I'm trying to ask. Uh, so like, do dramas contain real life aspects or events? Are they emotionally driven? And if so, what are the features of this genre film that people tend to like and dislike? Basically, I'm trying to find patterns. Um, an example answer, one of the things that I had noticed that there's also strong correlation with character development. What people seem to typically expect and want of films and genre to do well in would be character development, because this was a reoccurring theme. the data mining techniques that I used were, like I said, association. So I created an association and I selected the attributes, chose those two, genre, critics consensus, filter that example, and I used the other filter example like I had stated, and we used the process documents. Um, and the process documents, of course, allow to attribute values to the words. And I used lowercase transform cases. These are the subprocesses: transform cases, tokenize, filter tokens. Um, I made sure to get the length. No, anything less than 4 words doesn't seem important or significant to analyze. So these are all the ones that I used. When I finally ran the analysis, um, like I said, there were some word associations that were not significant. So there wasn't much interpretation or inference that I could have made that would have been anything substantial. So what I did find is battle scenes, of course, would be naturally associated with action, and then you had real life emotionally. Uh, these had 0.62, 1.0 chord association, and then you had things like impressive performance, but you also had things like suffer from performance. So this might lead me to deduce or extrapolate that maybe some movies or TV shows that more focus on action might suffer a bit from the performance, but we can't tell for certain. So I'd have to actually analyze the data more with specific keywords, like instead of doing invert filter for tokenized content, then I would focus on the word performance, and maybe I would in the future find something more significant that's associated with it. And this is the association rules results. These are all the ones that are listed. Terms emotionally in life had a 1.0 confidence level. This I inferred it as something since drama was associated as part of the genre. You have emotionally and then life, and all our underlining notions of the story that entail drama is usually when you see a drama, you're going to see life aspects, emotional. Um, and these, all three of these, as you can see here, are part of a larger pool of webbed associations. So basically, life, emotionally, and the word real are associated in a relationship. So you could infer that life can be rather emotional, and so naturally, a drama, such as a genre that contains aspects of real life, will of course be emotionally moving or driven. And using analysis pattern analysis techniques such as these, you could also find information that you ordinarily wouldn't be able to infer otherwise reductively. So another association that I found was impressive in performance. This was pretty self-explanatory. Word associations could theoretically be performances were not impressive, or I've seen more impressive performances, but it seems more likely that the viewers would probably just use other adjectives or word phrases to describe performances or a lack. So it's likely that action adventure dramas contain either um, impressive performances. However, the word impressive also has another associated relationship from suffer, like I had stated before, which has two basic inferences that I included. Some dramas might suffer from good performances or have mediocre acting, excuse me, or two, being an action adventure, but also falling under a drama genre, it might be that the focus was on adventure and or action more than the drama, so therefore it suffered from its performance. When I found more and than, since it's a phrase used in a lot of contexts, I couldn't really make a good inference on it, at least that I would feel confident in. and didn't seem linked with any association rules. Battle and scenes are, of course, 0.75. This makes sense for the action, like I had stated, as you can see. Character and development. So this was a significant one, and I found this very satisfying. And so it falls under the genre drama, which would focus more on character development, of course, as opposed to action and sometimes adventure. So leading up to these, so basically, other associations included a larger web of these overall connected terms and things like story-based facts, since all these words like life, emotionally, were all associated. You could probably expound upon the latter to expand on an overall conclusion about these, which is basically that they dramas tend to have life stories about life, which have emotional aspects in it, and they are fact based. So people are faced with ethical decisions, emotionally gripping decisions, similar circumstances that are historically have been known. Stories about refugee camps, World War II, Hitler. Those are very gripping. They're very emotionally driven. So if you were to make that a narrative, and that would of course be real life, but also emotional. To extrapolate that further, what I concluded that all the aforementioned um, is basically comes down to a narrative. So narratives in general seem to be one of the major components of these types of movies, and show that that's one of the things that appeals to people, is that it's a narrative. You have character development, life that's emotional, gripping changes, shifts, impressive performances. All of that circles around a narrative itself. And so that was my project. As far as my experience goes, it was rather exciting and fascinating to be able to take the data and manipulate it in the ways I did. I struggled a little bit with the unfamiliarity of computers and such, but I was able to finally find a decent data set, and I managed to successfully execute this project. Thank you for listening.